Hey guys, happy Monday and happy Halloween Eve. I hope you had an awesome weekend. Things have been good here, just been a little bit busy, so I'm a little bit behind on edits. Um, on the topic of getting your first customer, here is another kind of piece of tactical advice. I know, cold calling, I've done it. It's got kind of a low probability of success. And so how do you get these meetings? How do you get on the phone? What do you email people to start landing some of these meetings to get some of those first customers? One of the things that comes from the investment world is applicable to this situation, and that advice is, if you need an investment, you ask for advice. If you need advice, you ask for an investment. It's like this. It's this little piece of nugget that you get when you're starting to try to raise money. And believe me, I this is how it works. You go to these VCs. I remember going through Y Combinator both these times in 2006 and 2011. When you start asking people for money, it's really actually pretty easy, to be honest, to get meetings with VCs. I mean, that's what they're in the business to do. They listen to pitches. I mean, granted, if you have got nothing going on, maybe it's going to be tough, but there's a lot of people willing to take pitches. I mean, that's their business, and so they'll listen to you. Maybe it won't be a partner, it'll be an associate, kind of one of the people kind of filtering out deals, but it's not that hard to kind of get some kind of contact at a VC firm. But when you start asking for an investment, you hear a lot of advice. We got it, tons of it, right? We were trying to raise some money for these businesses, and you just get tons of advice on how to improve your business. But the flip side is, when you start asking people for advice and you start reaching out to your network for advice, people all of a sudden start getting interested kind of in investing in you. And you hear about these stories all the time. I think Neistat has another one where he's mentioned it a couple times on his vlog, where he was out, starting Beam, and he was out asking his friends. And I don't know if he names this friend or not. I believe maybe he named it in one of his videos. I think he was talking to Gary Vaynerchuk. They're good friends. I think he was going to Gary and he was asking Gary for some advice on running Beam. And Gary's like, well, I want to invest in this. And maybe it wasn't Gary, but it was somebody else. That exact situation. You go for advice and you kind of get, it's like a Trojan horse almost. You kind of go in there and all of a sudden people want to invest in you when you're not looking for it. And this applies to a lot of things. A friend of mine sold his company this way. When I kind of told him about, this judo of trying to raise money or kind of get meetings, he did this with selling his company. He knew he wanted to sell his company, but instead of going outright and being like, hey, do you want to buy my company? No, he went out and he started asking a network of people he knew or had relationships close to for advice on selling his company. But that planted the seed of like, hey, I need advice to sell my company, and by the way, I'm selling my company. And it triggered some interest from those same people he was asking for advice. And so this is how I suggest you try to lead some of these meetings. And it doesn't have to be this, the cynical view of this is like, hey, you're tricking people. But no, like, don't go in there looking for the sale. Go in there honestly looking for advice. And I think you're just going to stumble upon some people who might just be interested in actually using your product. And so a lot of the first emails that I would send, or to try to get people kind of interested in what we're doing at Inkling or City Posh, was simply like, hey, do you have any advice? I know you guys spend a lot of money on ad tech, or I know you guys spend a lot of money looking for collaboration software. Do you have any advice? We're building collaboration software. We're building ad tech, whatever. Can you share some thoughts? Like, does this prototype make any sense to you? And you might just land someone who's like, hey, this is a neat idea. Could we use this? Anyway, think about it that way, and you don't always have to go in. I get a ton of emails that are just a little bit too on the nose, and it's off-putting. Maybe there's something psychological to it, whereas like I would love to like enter into kind of a more mentoring relationship where like, oh yeah, maybe this is something I could actually use. I don't know. It's just maybe psychologically a little less like, you want to ignore the people who are immediately hitting you up for money. I don't know.